The stars looked different from the bridge of the UES Discovery. Captain Jake Morrison had been staring at them for 3 hours now, watching the strange ship that had appeared near Proxima Centauri. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, with smooth curves and a dark metal that seemed to drink in the light from nearby stars. "Captain, they're sending another signal," said Lieutenant Sam Parker from the communications station. His voice was tight with worry. For 2 days, the alien ship had been trying to talk to them, but the Discovery's computers could not understand their language. Jake rubbed his tired eyes. He was 45 years old and had spent most of his life in space, but he had never seen anything like this. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It was at least 5 times larger than the Discovery, and sensors showed it, had weapons that could turn his ship into dust in seconds. "Keep trying to translate their messages," Jake said, "and send word back to Earth Command. They need to know about this." The year was 2387, and humans had been traveling between stars for only 50 years. They had built small colonies on 12 worlds, mostly for mining rare metals and doing research. Earth was still their only real home, with 8 billion people living on the blue planet. The colonies were tiny compared to Earth, with only a few thousand people each. The alien ship suddenly moved closer. Jake felt his heart beat faster as the massive vessel approached. Its hull was covered in strange symbols that glowed with soft blue light. The ship moved without making any sound, gliding through space like a giant fish through water. "Sir, I think I got something," Sam said, his fingers dancing over his controls. "The computer says it can understand some of their words. Now, they want to meet us." Jake looked at his crew. There were only 40 people on the Discovery, and they were all scared. But they were also excited. This was the moment humans had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with aliens. "Where do they want to meet?" Jake asked. "There's a space station about 6 hours from here," Sam replied. "It's called Helios 7. They say it's neutral ground." Jake had heard of Helios 7. It was an old research station that had been abandoned for 10 years. It still had air and power, but nobody lived there anymore. It would be a safe place to meet. "Tell them we agree," Jake said, "but we want to bring more people from Earth first." 6 days later, Ambassador Lisa Taylor arrived at Helios 7 with a small team from Earth. She was a smart woman in her 50s, who had spent her life learning about different cultures. If anyone could talk to aliens, it was her. The space station was cold and empty when they arrived. The lights worked, but everything felt old and forgotten. Lisa walked through the main meeting room, checking the air and making sure everything was ready. She had brought gifts from Earth music, books, and paintings that showed the best of human culture. The alien ship arrived exactly on time. Lisa watched through the station's windows as a small shuttle left the huge vessel and flew toward them. The shuttle was just as beautiful as the big ship, with the same smooth curves and glowing symbols. 3 aliens stepped out of the shuttle. They were tall, about 7 feet high, with gray skin and long arms. Their heads were bigger than human heads, and their eyes were large and dark. They wore clothes that looked like they were made from liquid metal, changing colors as they moved. The leader of the aliens stepped forward. When he spoke, a small device on his chest translated his words into English. "I am High Consul Morden of the Kethvari people," he said. His voice was deep and cold. "We represent the Galactic Dominion, which rules over 10,000 star systems." Lisa smiled and bowed slightly. "I am Ambassador Lisa Taylor, representing the United Earth government. We are honored to meet you." High Consul Mordun looked at her like she was a small child. "Your species is new to space travel. You have only a few small colonies. This is good, because it will make things easier." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "The Dominion has rules," Morden said. "All new species must join us or be destroyed. You will give us control of your worlds, and we will protect you. Your people will work for us, and we will take care of you like pets." Lisa felt her blood turn cold. "I'm sorry, but humans value their freedom. We would prefer to remain independent." The other aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. High Consul Mordun's dark eyes grew even colder. "You do not understand," he said. "This is not a choice. 3 of our battle fleets are already flying toward your Earth. They will arrive in 6 months. Your planet will become part of the Dominion whether you agree or not." Lisa's team looked scared, but she kept her voice calm and steady. "How many ships are in these fleets?" 3,000 of our finest warships, Morden said with pride. "Each one could destroy your entire planet by itself. Your small military cannot stop us." Lisa was quiet for a long moment. She thought about Earth, about the billions of people living there. She thought about the small human colonies scattered across 12 worlds. Then she thought about her orders from the president. "High Consul Morden," she said finally, "I need to give you a message from my government." "What message could your primitive leaders possibly have for the Dominion?" Lisa looked him straight in his dark eyes. "This is your only warning. Stay away from Earth." The aliens made more sounds that seemed like laughter. High Consul Morden shook his head. "Your species will learn," he said. "The Dominion has conquered thousands of worlds. Your Earth will be just another small planet in our empire." The meeting ended quickly after that. The aliens went back to their ship and Lisa's team returned to Earth. As their ship flew away from Helios 7, Lisa looked back at the huge alien vessel. She hoped the aliens would listen to the warning. But deep down, she knew they would not. The Kethvari had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. They had never met a species they could not defeat. They thought humans were just another weak race that would bow down to their power. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 6 months passed quickly after the meeting at Helios 7. On Earth, everyone was preparing for war. President Helen Rodriguez sat in the big meeting room deep under the White House, looking at reports from all over the planet. The news was not good. "The alien fleets will be here in 2 weeks, said Defense Secretary Ryan Clark. He was a tall man with gray hair who had been a soldier for 30 years. "Our spy ships have been watching them from far away. There are over 3,000 ships coming toward us." General Patricia Stone leaned forward in her chair. She was the head of Earth Defense Command, and she had been planning for this day since the first meeting with the aliens. "Mr. President, we have only 200 ships in our entire military. Most of them are small patrol boats and cargo ships with weapons added on." President Rodriguez was 58 years old and had been leading Earth for 6 years. She had seen many problems, but nothing like this. "What are our chances, General?" "If we fight them the normal way, we will lose in less than an hour," General Stone said quietly. "But we are not going to fight them the normal way." "What do you mean?" asked the president. General Stone smiled for the first time in weeks. "We have been preparing for this since humans first went to space. Everything we have built in the last 50 years was designed for this moment. The mining colonies, the research stations, even the trade routes between planets. It was all part of a plan." Far from Earth, Fleet Admiral Karthek stood on the bridge of his flagship, the World Breaker. He was 8 feet tall with dark blue skin and 4 arms. He had been fighting wars for the Dominion for over 100 years, and he had never lost a battle. "Admiral, we can see the human solar system now," said his aide, Commander Jexel. "Our sensors show only small defenses around their moon and the red planet they call Mars." Admiral Karthek looked at the display screen that showed the human solar system. It looked weak and empty. There were some space stations and mining ships, but nothing that could stop his mighty fleet. "How many human ships are waiting for us?" he asked. "Only 50 ships, Admiral. They are positioned between the large gas planets. It looks like they want to make their last stand there." Admiral Karthek laughed. 50 ships against 3,000. These humans must be very brave or very stupid. The Dominion fleet was the largest war force ever assembled. The ships were huge, some of them over 10 miles long. Each ship had weapons that could destroy entire cities with one shot. The largest ships could crack planets in half if they wanted to. On the human ship UES Defiance, Commander Alex Bennett watched the alien fleet approach on his screen. He was 35 years old and had been born on Mars colony. He had never seen Earth's blue skies, but he would die to protect them. "Sir, the alien fleet just passed Neptune," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Mary Foster. "They will be at our position in 6 hours." Alex looked around at his crew. There were only 30 people on his ship, and they all knew they might not live through the day. But they also knew something the aliens did not. "Send a message to the alien fleet," Alex said. "Use all frequencies so they cannot miss it." Lieutenant Foster worked at her controls for a few minutes. "Ready to transmit, sir." "This is Commander Alex Bennett of the United Earth ship Defiance," Alex said into his microphone. "You were warned 6 months ago. Turn back now or face the consequences. We are sending you star charts that show safe routes out of our solar system. This is your last chance to leave in peace." On the Worldbreaker, Admiral Karthek listened to the human message. His officers were laughing at the small human ship that dared to threaten their mighty fleet. "These humans think they can scare us with words," said Commander Jexel. "Should we destroy their little ship now?" "No," said Admiral Karthek. "Let them watch as we take their precious Earth. Their message shows how desperate they are. No species has ever warned the Dominion twice. They must know they cannot win." The Admiral looked at the tactical display that showed his fleet spreading out across the solar system. His ships were so powerful that each one could fight 100 human vessels and still win easily. "All ships, continue toward the third planet," he ordered. "Destroy any human ships that get in our way, but save the planet for capture. The Dominion needs new workers for our mines." Back on Earth, President Rodriguez was in the deep command center under the Rocky Mountains. Dr. Susan Wells, the director of the Terra Research Institute, was showing her a display that looked like a map of the solar system. "Every dot on this screen is one of our hidden weapons," Dr. Wells said. She was a small woman with white hair, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "For 50 years we have been building defenses that no one could see. How is that possible?" asked the president. "We told everyone we were mining asteroids for metals," Dr. Wells explained. "But we were really turning those asteroids into weapon platforms. We said we were building research stations to study the planets. But we were really building the largest defense network in history." General Stone pointed to different areas on the display. "Every major asteroid has been hollowed out and filled with weapons. Every planet and moon in our system has defense stations hidden on it. Even our trade ships have been built to fight when needed. But will it be enough?" "President," Rodriguez asked. "We are about to find out," General Stone said. "The alien fleet just crossed Uranus orbit. In 4 hours, they will meet our first line of defense." Dr. Wells touched a button on her console. Across the solar system, thousands of hidden weapon platforms began to wake up. Computers that had been sleeping for decades started running their programs. Weapons that had never been fired prepared to shoot for the first time. "The aliens think they are attacking a weak planet with only 50 ships to defend it," Dr. Wells said. "They have no idea that they are flying into the most dangerous place in the galaxy." Admiral Karthek was still confident as his fleet approached the human ships near Jupiter. He had fought many battles and conquered many worlds. The humans would be just another easy victory for the mighty Dominion. But as his ships moved deeper into the solar system, his sensors began to detect strange readings. There was more energy in this system than there should be. Much more. "Admiral," said his science officer, "I am reading unusual power signatures from many locations. It is almost like the entire solar system is some kind of machine." Admiral Karthek frowned. "That cannot be right. Check your instruments." But deep in his heart, the Admiral was beginning to feel something he had not felt in 100 years of war. He was beginning to feel afraid. The first alien ships crossed into the outer edge of the solar system near Neptune. Admiral Karthek watched his screens as 500 of his fastest ships moved ahead of the main fleet. These were his scout ships, built to find enemy positions and clear the way for the bigger vessels. "All scout ships report normal readings," said Commander Jexel. "The humans appear to have only a few mining stations and research posts scattered around their system." But as the Dominion ships moved closer to Uranus, something strange began to happen. What looked like simple mining stations started to change. Metal panels slid away from asteroid surfaces, revealing massive weapons underneath. Research stations that seemed abandoned suddenly came alive with power. Captain Vextar commanded the scout ship Night Hunter. He was looking at his instruments when alarms started ringing all over his bridge. "Captain, the asteroid field ahead of us is lighting up like a star," his weapons officer shouted. "I count over 200 hidden gun platforms." Before Captain Vexistar could respond, the first human weapons fired. But these were not normal guns that shot metal bullets or energy beams. Instead, strange waves rippled through space itself, bending and twisting everything they touched. The Night Hunter was caught in one of these gravity waves. Captain Vextar felt his ship being stretched and squeezed at the same time. The metal walls began to crack as space itself was being twisted around them. "What kind of weapon is this?" he screamed into his radio. He never got an answer. The Night Hunter was torn apart by forces that played with gravity like it was a toy. Deep under the Rocky Mountains on Earth, Dr. Susan Wells watched the battle on her screens. She was in the Terra Research Institute Command Center, surrounded by computers and displays that showed every part of the solar system. "First wave of defense platforms are firing," she reported to President Rodriguez. "We are using gravitational distortion weapons against their scout ships." "How do those weapons work?" asked the president. Dr. Wells smiled. "We learned how to make small black holes and control them. When our weapons fire, they create tiny spots where gravity becomes so strong that it tears ships apart. We can also make gravity wells that trap enemy ships so they cannot move." On the main screen, they could see alien ships being caught in invisible traps. Some ships were being crushed by gravity that was 1,000 times stronger than normal. Others were being stretched until they broke into pieces. 50 enemy ships destroyed in the first attack, reported General Stone. But they still have almost 3,000 ships left. Admiral Karthek was furious as he watched his scout ships being destroyed by weapons he did not understand. In 100 years of war, he had never seen anything like this. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his science officer. "Admiral, they appear to have weapons that can control gravity itself. This technology is far beyond anything in Dominion records." The Admiral's 4 hands clenched into fists. "No primitive species should have such weapons. Send the second wave. 1,000 ships this time." But as more Dominion vessels moved into the inner solar system, they discovered that the humans had more surprises waiting for them. Near Jupiter, Captain Danny Foster led a squadron of 50 human ships that moved in ways that seemed impossible. Danny was 30 years old and had grown up on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. He had been training for this battle his entire life, but even he was amazed by what his ship could do. "All ships activate dimensional drives," he ordered his squadron. The human ships suddenly became hard to see, flickering in and out of normal space like ghosts. The UES Guardian, Danny's ship, could phase between dimensions, making it almost impossible for enemy weapons to hit. "How are they disappearing?" demanded the captain of the Dominion ship, Starcrusher. His weapons officer was frantically working at his controls. "Sir, they seem to be moving in and out of our dimension. When they phase out, our weapons pass right through them." The human ships attacked like wolves, appearing suddenly to fire their weapons, then vanishing again before the aliens could fight back. Each human ship was much smaller than the Dominion vessels, but they were so fast and hard to hit that they seemed like supernatural beings. Danny smiled as his ship appeared behind a large alien cruiser. "Fire quantum torpedoes," he ordered. The weapons that shot from the Guardian were not normal missiles. They were packets of twisted space-time that exploded when they hit their target. The alien cruiser's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, and metal projectiles were useless against attacks that came from other dimensions. The cruiser broke apart as reality itself was torn around it. Back on Earth, Dr. Wells was getting reports from all over the solar system. "Sir, our dimensional fighter squadrons have destroyed over 300 enemy ships, but the main alien fleet is still coming toward us." President Rodriguez looked worried. "Will our hidden defenses be enough?" "We have shown them our gravitational weapons and our dimensional technology," Dr. Wells said, "but we have not yet revealed our greatest secret." "What secret?" asked the president. Dr. Wells pointed to a special display that showed the sun at the center of their solar system. "For 30 years, we have been building installations inside our star itself. We have learned how to control the sun's power and use it as a weapon." General Stone leaned forward. "You mean we can weaponize our own sun?" "Not just weaponize it," Dr. Wells said with a proud smile. "We have turned our entire star into the largest gun ever built. When we fire it, we can destroy entire fleets with beams of pure solar energy." Admiral Karthik was now truly worried as more and more of his ships were destroyed by human weapons he could not understand. His mighty fleet of 3,000 ships was down to less than 2,000, and they had not even reached the human homeworld yet. "These humans have technology that should not exist," he told his officers. "But we still outnumber them 10 to 1. All ships advance directly toward their planet. We will end this quickly." But as the Dominion fleet moved toward Earth, they were about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon was not their gravity controllers or their dimensional fighters. Their greatest weapon was the star that gave life to their world, and they had spent decades learning how to turn it into an engine of destruction. Admiral Karthik was getting desperate. His great fleet of 3,000 ships was now down to less than 1,800 vessels. The humans had weapons that made no sense, and their small ships fought like demons that could disappear and reappear at will. "All remaining ships form attack formation," he ordered his fleet. "We will punch straight through to their homeworld and end this war quickly." The Dominion ships arranged themselves into a massive spear shape pointed directly at Earth. Even though they had lost many vessels, 1,800 warships was still an enormous force. Each ship was bigger and more powerful than anything humans had ever built. "Sir, human resistance is getting stronger as we get closer to their planet," reported Commander Jexel. "They have more hidden weapons around every planet and moon." "It does not matter," Admiral Karthik said, though his voice showed he was not as confident as before. "We still have enough ships to destroy their world 10 times over." On Luna Base, the human military headquarters built inside Earth's moon, Admiral Karen Murphy watched the alien fleet approaching on her screens. She was 60 years old and had been planning this defense for most of her adult life. "Admiral, the enemy fleet will reach Earth orbit in 4 hours, said her aide, Colonel Pete Williams. "Should we activate the final defense?" Admiral Murphy looked at the display showing their solar system. She could see the alien ships moving past Mars, heading straight for Earth. Behind them was a trail of wreckage from destroyed Dominion vessels. But there were still too many left. "Not yet," she said calmly. "Let them get closer. We want them all in the target zone when we fire." Far from the battle, on the planet Mercury closest to the Sun, engineer Tony Garcia was working at the largest construction project in human history. The entire surface of Mercury had been turned into a massive machine designed to collect and focus the Sun's energy. Mercury was no longer a normal planet. Its rocky surface had been covered with millions of metal collectors that gathered sunlight and converted it into pure energy. Giant focusing lenses, each one the size of a city, were positioned all around the planet to aim this energy wherever it was needed. "All solar collectors are online," Tony reported to Admiral Murphy. "The Mercury array is ready to fire on your command." Tony was 42 years old and had been born on Mercury Colony. He had spent his entire career building the solar weapon system that would either save humanity or destroy their enemies. Maybe both. The sun itself had been changed too. Over 30 years, human engineers had built installations inside the star's outer layers. These machines could control solar flares and direct the sun's power like water flowing through pipes. Dr. Susan Wells was monitoring all of this from her command center on Earth. "Admiral Murphy, all solar weapon systems are ready. We can fire at any time." "How powerful is this weapon?" asked President Rodriguez over the communication link. "Ma'am, we are about to fire a beam of pure solar energy that contains the power of a small star," Dr. Wells explained. "Each shot will be hot enough to melt entire planets and fast enough to cross the solar system in minutes." Admiral Karthik did not know that he was flying his fleet into the largest trap ever built. As his ships approached Earth, they passed through an invisible zone where all of humanity's solar weapons could target them at once. "Admiral, we are detecting massive energy buildup from the direction of their sun," his science officer reported. "The readings are off our scales." For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Karthik felt real fear. "What kind of energy buildup?" "Sir, it appears they are somehow controlling their star itself." Before the Admiral could respond, the sun flared with light brighter than anyone had ever seen. But this was not a natural solar flare. This was controlled, focused, and aimed directly at the Dominion fleet. On Mercury, Tony Garcia watched his instruments as the solar collectors gathered more energy than had ever been harnessed by any civilization. "Firing main solar array now," he announced. A beam of pure sunlight, compressed and focused into a stream only a few miles wide, shot out from Mercury toward the alien fleet. The beam was so bright that it lit up the entire solar system. It was so hot that anything it touched simply ceased to exist. The first group of Dominion ships hit by the solar beam did not explode or burn. They simply vanished, turned into individual atoms by heat that was hotter than the center of a star. 200 alien vessels disappeared in the first second. "Impossible," Admiral Karthek whispered as he watched his ships being destroyed by weaponized sunlight. But the humans were not finished. All around the solar system, other solar focusing stations began to fire. Each planet and major moon had its own solar collectors and focusing lenses. Beams of starfire lanced out from Jupiter's moons, from Saturn's rings, from stations hidden in the asteroid belt. The Dominion fleet found itself caught in a web of solar energy beams that crisscrossed the entire solar system. Wherever the beams touched, alien ships simply ceased to exist. "All ships retreat immediately," Admiral Karthek ordered, but it was too late for most of his fleet. Captain Zexmer of the cruiser Void Stalker tried to turn his ship away from the solar beams, but the weapons moved faster than his engines could carry him. He watched in horror as the beam approached his ship, turning everything in its path into glowing gas. "Tell my family I died fighting," he said to his communications officer just before the solar beam reached them. In less than 10 minutes, over 1,000 Dominion ships were destroyed by humanity's solar weapon network. The great fleet that had conquered 1,000 worlds was being torn apart by the very star that gave Earth its life. Admiral Murphy watched the battle from Luna Base with grim satisfaction. "Target the remaining ships," she ordered. "Do not let any of them escape to warn their empire." But Admiral Karthek was already ordering his surviving ships to retreat. Less than 200 vessels remained from his once mighty fleet of 3,000. "Sir, should we continue the attack?" asked Commander Jexel. Admiral Karthek looked at his screens showing the wreckage of his fleet floating in space. "No, we are leaving this cursed system immediately. These humans have turned their own star into a weapon. We cannot fight a species that can control stars." As the surviving Dominion ships fled the solar system, Admiral Murphy activated one final system. "Tony, give them something to remember us by." On Mercury, Tony Garcia smiled as he fired one last solar beam, sending it past the fleeing alien ships as a warning. The beam was so bright that it could be seen from other star systems, a message to the galaxy that Earth would defend itself with the power of its own sun. The Battle of Sol was over. Humanity had won not through superior numbers or bigger ships, but by turning their entire solar system into a fortress powered by their star. The galaxy would never be the same. The few surviving Dominion ships limped back to their nearest base on the planet Kethvar Prime. Admiral Karthek sat in his damaged command chair, staring at reports that seemed impossible to believe. Of his great fleet of 3,000 ships, only 187 had survived the battle at Earth. "Admiral, Dominion High Command is demanding a full report," said Commander Jexel. His voice was quiet and shaky. Like everyone else who had survived the battle, he could not stop thinking about the humans who had turned their sun into a weapon. "What am I supposed to tell them?" Admiral Karthek asked. "That a species we thought was primitive destroyed our fleet with weaponized starlight? They will think I have gone insane." But the Admiral had no choice. He sent his report to the Dominion capital, along with video recordings of the battle. He watched human ships phase in and out of reality like ghosts. He showed solar beams that could destroy entire squadrons in seconds. He included sensor readings that proved the humans had turned their whole solar system into a fortress. On the Dominion capital world of Vextaran, Overlord Supreme Vextaran read the report with growing anger. He was the ruler of 10,000 star systems and had never been defeated in war. The idea that humans could destroy a Dominion fleet seemed impossible. "This Admiral Karthek must be lying," he told his council. "No species that young could have such weapons." He probably lost his ships to some natural disaster and is making up stories to save his reputation. The council members agreed. They had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years and had never met a species they could not conquer. Humans were supposed to be weak and primitive. Send the Second Grand Fleet, ordered Overlord Supreme Vextaran. 5,000 ships should be enough to deal with whatever really happened at that human world. But when the Second Grand Fleet arrived at Earth 6 months later, they met the same fate. Solar beams reached out from the human star and turned 5,000 proud Dominion warships into glowing dust. Only a handful of ships escaped to tell the tale. This time, the Dominion could not ignore what had happened. 2 of their greatest fleets had been destroyed by a species they had never taken seriously. Panic began to spread through their empire. On Earth, President Rodriguez stood before the cameras in the White House press room. The whole world was watching, and she knew that other species across the galaxy would be listening too. People of Earth and beings of the galaxy, she began. 6 months ago, the Galactic Dominion threatened our world. They demanded that we surrender or be destroyed. We gave them one warning to stay away. They ignored that warning. The president paused and looked directly into the camera. The Dominion sent 3,000 ships to conquer Earth. We destroyed them. They sent 5,000 more ships. We destroyed them too. Let this be a lesson to any who would threaten our home. Behind her, a large screen showed video of the solar weapon firing. The galaxy watched in amazement as beams of pure starlight reached across space to destroy alien warships. Humanity seeks peace with all civilizations, President Rodriguez continued. We offer friendship, trade, and cooperation to any species that approaches us with respect. But any force that threatens Earth or human colonies will face the full power of our solar defense network. The broadcast was sent to every known inhabited system in the galaxy. Within weeks, the message had spread to thousands of worlds. Everyone was talking about the humans who had weaponized their own star. Dr. Rachel Green, humanity's chief scientist for alien contact, established a new research center on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. The center's job was to make sure that future meetings with aliens would go better than the first contact with the Dominion. We need to change how we meet new species, Dr. Green explained to her team. Instead of waiting for them to find us, we should reach out first. We should offer friendship before anyone thinks about war. Rachel was 55 years old and had spent her life studying alien cultures. She believed that most species in the galaxy were peaceful, and that the Dominion was unusual in their desire to conquer everyone they met. The center on Titan began sending messages to civilizations all over the galaxy. This is Dr. Rachel Green of the Human First Contact Center, the messages said. Humanity extends friendship to all peaceful species. We offer knowledge, trade, and cooperation to those who approach us with respect. The responses came quickly. Many alien civilizations had been forced to join the Dominion against their will. Now they saw that the mighty empire could be defeated, and they began to hope for freedom. The Zephyri, a peaceful species that loved art and music, were the first to break away from Dominion control. They sent a message to Earth asking for protection and offering to share their beautiful culture with humanity. We have been slaves to the Dominion for 300 years, their message said. You have shown us that they can be defeated. Will you help us become free? President Rodriguez approved the alliance immediately. Human ships began escorting Zephyri vessels, and Dominion forces learned to avoid any system where humans might be present. Soon, other species began declaring independence. The Morden, who were master engineers, offered to share their technology with humans in exchange for protection. The gentle Kyltar, who could communicate with animals, asked Earth to help them establish colonies far from Dominion space. Within 2 years, over 50 species had broken away from the Dominion Empire. The galaxy was changing, and it was all because humans had been willing to defend their home with everything they had. On Kethvar Prime, Admiral Karthek received new orders from Dominion High Command. But these orders were different from any he had received before. All Dominion forces are forbidden from entering the Sol system, the orders read. Any ship that approaches Earth or human colonies will be considered lost. The humans are to be avoided at all costs. Admiral Karthek smiled grimly as he read the orders. The mighty Dominion, rulers of the galaxy for 1,000 years, were now afraid of one small planet and its star that could reach out to destroy any enemy. The phrase, "Stay away from Earth," had become the most respected warning in the galaxy. Every species knew that humans had kept their promise to give only one warning, and that anyone who ignored that warning would face the fury of a weaponized sun. Humanity had won the greatest victory in galactic history not by conquering other worlds, but by making the cost of attacking their home too terrible for any rational enemy to accept. Earth was safe, and the galaxy would never again underestimate the species that learned to fight with the power of stars.